We're coming in. Beautiful people. Good morning. Beck, I see you. Jai, it's a beautiful flannel. Beck's on the treadmill. She's already beaten us all. Callan, good to see you in here. I know Carl has some hand in that, which we love. What else we got? Arx. What's up, man? What's up, homie? Andy, take your video off if you can. Kiara and Christian, hello. Dan, one of the best physios in Melbourne. What else we got? Choch, James, Joshua Smith. It's good to meet you, brother. Anthea Slay Woodford, Woodruff, I see you. Ryan Otter. Wait, otter.ai. Yeah, I know what that is. Why does it change your name, Ryan? That's the AI transcription. That's weird. Ryan Everton, my man. You guys can unmute yourself. It's okay. If
Sorry, bro. The baby was being annoying.
Oh, it's okay. How is she or he?
She's great, man. She's cruising.
Edmonds. What else am I missing? There's some of you I haven't met before, but I'm looking at a screen of Matthew Govesi, if I said that right. But that I'm gonna guess. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, how are you? It's Chloe.
Oh, Chloe.
How you going?
I'm going great. I'm glad I could clarify.
Sorry, I was having issues, so I just saw my partners.
That's okay. I'm like, that doesn't look like a Matthew. All right, guys. I think we have no time to waste. We are going to get into this because this is going to be big. And I hope incredible for all of you and really changes the way you all look at approach work, because we spend most of our lives, waking hours, dedicated into our profession and work, and we almost never think about how to optimize it, maximize it. And so that's what a lot of this conversation is going to be centered around. You guys are all welcome to share this on social media and just take a little share screen or photo or video and share it and tag me. It's completely fine. I love that. I need to do a big shout out because if you guys click the three dots, you can change your view, I have learned, and you'll be able to see everybody if you choose to. Carl Goodman, my friend, my mentor, who has changed my life and business in many ways. I need to give a lot of credit and thanks for, because we would not be here without him. He was the last straw that broke the camel's back to be like, dude, you have to do this. I'm like, fine. And so if this is great, you can thank Carl. If this is not great, you can thank Carl.
Put the blame on me, guys. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
No, I'm playing. You definitely put that on me. But thank you, my friend. This is beyond my expectations. Okay. Hello, Mary Saad. We're going to get into it. I'm going to share my screen. If you're on a phone, turn it horizontal and you can pinch to make it bigger. But I do recommend a laptop. I will, of course, record this for those who don't know. All right, let's starting off with, I want to know what is the max amount of hours in a day that all of you work before feeling fatigued and tired. You can type it in the chat. I just want a number. There's no judgment. Please don't try and impress me or impress anybody. The goal is not to work more. Please remember, it's to work as much as you want to create the outcome that you desire. So please let me know how many hours in a workday before you get fatigued and tired, no matter what you try. 2 to 4, 4 to 5, 3, 4 to 6. Mary, that is big. That is so much better than it used to be. Rosine, sorry if I said that wrong. 4 to 5, great. Sly, my boy, 2 to 3, 4, 4 to 5, 2 to 3. Have a look, guys. Dan, interesting. Very interesting, Dan. 6 to 12. That is definitely more to what I feel. That's really good. Beck 4, Mac 2. Okay, 2 to 3. Okay, cool. Abe, if you can't hear me, that would be you, because everyone can definitely hear me. Arcs 8. Tremendous. But, all right, thank you for that. So, Abe, just have a look at your audio, your sound. So really, this 10% more productive every day for the next 10 years of your life. That's really going to be one of the outcomes of this presentation, this masterclass. And it's going to happen if you guys action the things that I suggest. But the first place before we go anywhere, before we get practical on equipment and technology and setup and all this fancy stuff, is mindset and beliefs. By far, the most important thing. And so I want to start, and if you have some background noise, it would be awesome if you can mute your mic. But if you guys want to jump in and speak, please, you can do this one. You can click the little hand. You can just jump in and talk. I want this to be a conversation. So you're all welcome. I know you might be a little bit nervous to speak, but I want you guys all to feel comfortable. Like, you can jump in anytime. It's all good. I would love that. Now, can people raise their virtual hand if you've ever been made to feel bad or guilty for working a lot and hard? Just want to see. 8, 9, 10, 11, 13. Jesus. 16. Okay. Same. A lot of people. I believe that most of us, I won't say us, but most people can't work such a long workday is because our beliefs around work are limiting. And so I want to start with a bit of engagement here. You guys can unmute yourself. I'd love that. What are some beliefs around working you learned from your parents, society, family growing up? Or what have you heard? Some beliefs around what you have to do, what people say you should be doing in regards to work and working hard.
I'll kick us off if you want now.
Thank you, Carl.
My dad has never worked a day in his life, which is we could dive into, I suspect, but that certainly formed part of my my work ethic, I would say, is because my dad, my mum and dad divorced when I was 2, and he's been on the dole every day since. So that certainly motivated me around what I think I need to accomplish for my own family. I have kids myself, because I don't want my kids to have the same upbringing I did.
And what was that upbringing in brief?
Look, really short. We lived in a really low socioeconomic area. My mum worked about 65 hours a week across 2.5 jobs. We lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in southwest Sydney. I never saw her because she was always working. So I went to daycare 5 days a week. Then I went and spent every evening with one of the daycare teachers. So I went and spent time with her family while my mum tried to work. So it was difficult. It was difficult, mate. And definitely part of my work ethic is governed by governed by those experiences as a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, thank you for sharing that. I got to stop myself from going deeper. Anybody else? Like, what is some, like give you an example. Like, don't work too hard, right? Carl mentioned one. You can put it in the comments, or you can unmute yourself.
Can I just go? I don't know how
hell yeah.
I'd probably say my upbringing is like the complete opposite of Carl's, where I saw my mom work to the point of sickness. And that's almost like defined a certain ceiling as to how far I shouldn't push so I don't get sick later on in life.
And you for those who don't know, you really did push and you did step into that identity very hard. And now you've, I assume, realized how to balance that obsessive work ethic.
Yeah. I'd say it's like I'm trying to redefine what good work ethic looks like.
Okay.
Yeah. But I've always been taught like you just go until you can't anymore.
Right. This, for if you resonate, if any of you resonate with what Mary just shared, you're going to have to filter that through a bit of a different lens for yourself, through a lens of the consequences of endlessly pushing, being mindful of the consequences of endlessly pushing and the detriments it can have to your mental, physical health. But I'm going to show you as well how we can really minimize that, at least in my life and my clients. Some other things: work smarter, not harder. You got to enjoy life more. That is just going to make me go nuts. You'll burn out if you work too long or hard. Some of you may have seen my post around burnout and reframing our language around that. Okay. So at first, these are some common things that I would like to reframe for you all. And the first one is you got to enjoy life more. Don't work so hard. Can I get one of these ones? If we've heard a version of that, let me just see how relevant it is. Enjoy life more. Don't work so hard. Okay. I think there's this pervasive idea that you have to take holidays. Yes, exactly. You need balance. Like, people will put their idea of balance onto you. And this is something to be very skeptical and wary of, because people put their own expectations of their life onto you. And sometimes we can do it onto other people as well. This idea that you need or should, I would like to eliminate for all of you. People say, oh, come out. Come chill, man. Come out. Friday night, Saturday night. Have a good time. And they try and pull you into their vortex that is sometimes, often, a cycle of hedonism and distraction from their ultimate goals. And what I want you guys to all understand, and what I think some of the most successful, wealthy, fulfilled people understand, is that recreation is not the only way to enjoy life. Partying, movies, drugs, alcohol, sex, these are not the only ways to have and find joy. In fact, they're mostly moments of fleeting hedonism. I'm not saying you can't do those things. I'm saying you should engage with them with a level of conscious awareness and intention. Instead, I would ask you all, what is because most of you are entrepreneurs or very ambitious people. That's why you're here. So you can afford, you're trying to find the thing that gives you joy in life, and realize that some people actually find joy in pushing themselves. Some of us actually find enjoyment out of finding our potential and seeing what we're made of. And so when someone engages with you with that, man, just why don't you enjoy life more? I would encourage you to give the perspective that life, culture, sells us on the idea that to enjoy life, we have to engage in hedonism, in seemingly often unhealthy habits that give moments of dopamine. Little do they know, people like me, many of you, if you find that much joy in your work, you will enjoy life more than them, because you can only enjoy alcohol and drugs for a few hours before the consequences of, like, I need to recover. Where if you do something like this, if you find something that is endlessly fulfilling to you, which is a different challenge in of itself, then the cycle of enjoyment and energy can maintain and be consistent. So don't let other people's expectations of what their life should be with enjoyment be pressured onto you. I just want to kind of give you guys permission that we just have different ideas of joy, and that's okay. Some people's is recreation and hedonism. Mine is found in fulfilling my potential and being the type of man my clients, my future family, my future son will look up to. And that's okay. Oh, for those who've never been in a little workshop by me, don't freak out if I pause for like 10 seconds. It's not lagging. I'm just letting the conversation breathe and you guys jump in. So to me, the ultimate life hack to energy is find work and meaning and a higher purpose that gives you enjoyment by doing the work, by contributing. And that can be found by asking yourself the question, what would you do if you were not being paid for? What would you fill your day with? And I think the analogy is like a video game. What's your modern real life video game? Because I used to be addicted to video games as a kid. Now I'm even more to life because I've found my modern video game. So find your modern video game. I promise you can. If you haven't, if you are, then we'll build on that. Now it's getting clear on expectations, because there's some people who want to build an empire and there's some people who just want to be free. And those two types of people will have a different classification of actions and expectations for themselves. So this is all just a framing for a setup of how you want to live your life. So I would encourage you guys all to kind of write this down for yourself and like get clear. If you're just living your life for freedom or doing your profession just to create a quality of life that you desire, be able to travel somewhere, do something, that's okay. But often these people, some of you, if you're doing your profession and doing your job just to create freedom, like I just want to make 100K, 200K, just so I can hit that baseline and tick all my Maslow's hierarchy of needs and take care of my family. That is a very different level of intention and action to playing for the game, which some of you may have heard. So what that means is some of you, I imagine Carl, for example, some of you just love playing the game of business, of life, of progression, of the pursuit. Like I've given here, the Hormozis, the Gary V's. They do it because they fucking love it. You should get clear on who you would like to be and who you want to be. When I started, I loved the game, but I wasn't like completely like what I am now. And so it's grown a lot with me, and it may with you as well. But I would think about, what are you doing this for? Because you might not need to work 12 hours a day if you're just playing for freedom. And then you won't need to compare yourself into other people, because some of you will feel like, oh man, why is he or she having more energy, more time, more creativity? What's wrong with me? Like something's missing. I'm comparing myself to these other people and I just feel like I'm not able to perform at their level. Well, they're playing for the game. You're playing for freedom. It's different. A person just playing for freedom, it can be very motivating. But once you hit that freedom piece, once you hit that level, what keeps you going? Whereas the game is the cycle. It gives you energy. This is my point. Find something that gives you energy. I'm able to do this all day. I look at my Oura ring last couple of weeks. I'm like, I'm confused. 5, 6 hours, 6.5 hours of sleep. I'm not saying that's good. That's not good. But I've been pushing it. And some of you may say, well, that'll catch up to you. And I'm like, yeah, it's not ideal right now. I'm like, I still got good energy. I just think there's things undescribable to science that if you're doing something that gives you energy in life, it's a everlasting fuel. Now, I'm welcome to be, Life may humble me once I have a family, once 10 years from now. But again, my belief around work is one that is not limiting. Yes. And so once you realize which one you want to be, it becomes effortless, it becomes easier. So I encourage you all just to sit and write and think, what am I actually doing this for? Because don't compare yourself to me if you're playing for freedom or anybody else playing for the game. Three belief shifts to unlock hours of productive, low stress work. Let's get more specific. Has anybody do the thing in the past? If you've ever said, "Oh man, I really need to do this. Oh, I gotta do this. I need to do this. If I don't do X, Y, Z, stress, stress, stress." Of course. Okay. The belief shift that we need to come to is it's not I need to do this, it's I get to do this. No one is asking you to do a business. You chose to. You could go get a job. You could go work in a mine for 6 months and make 100K. You can take all the stress out of you running your own shit. Remember that what we get to do is a gift and it's a choice. You do not have to do this. So when you catch yourself in the I need to, remember, didn't you choose this? Aren't you doing what you wanted to do in your life? That gives you meaning. Because the I need to puts pressure on yourself. It creates stress. So any time you catch yourself in the I need to, like, if I don't do this, it's like, hold on. I get to coach 30 athletes. I get to run a gym. I get to run a 6-figure business. I get to work towards making a 6-figure business. Just remember who picked it. Next, the perfectionism monster that used to plague me, but I killed him. And this is partly how I did it. There's this all or nothing mentality that a lot of our clients and people that we know also have, and we apply it to our business sometimes. And perfection has roots in your upbringing, your trauma, the things you experienced growing up. For me, it was having a mother with very extreme high standards. Mary Saad, we are not related, but we're both Egyptian, me half, her full. And we could both relate to that extent, many of you can, if you have more traditional or stricter parents. And the standard can be very high. You got to do things exactly how it's meant to be done. And this, if the bar is up here, if you don't perform to that level, then anything below there is seen as a failure or not worthy of doing, or you feel like a failure if you don't. So to protect yourself, it's perfection or nothing. The flip is adopting a mentality and acceptance that your first attempt is going to suck. And I would encourage you all to make it suck, because there's a lot of stress and overwhelm in the beginning of a new task, of a new business, of a new thing. And you're like, I got to do this. No. Start off with the intention to do it badly. If you begin a new task with new assignment, new X, new Y, I haven't done this before, I'm just going to do it badly to begin with. And say it to yourself. It's not enough sometimes if you think it's you know what? Let me release the expectation of this and acknowledge that it's going to probably not be very good. it's supposed to be. Like the first time you make out with somebody, the first time you have sex with somebody, the first time you start a business, the first time you drive a car. Imagine if you had the expectation that you were going to be a superstar. No. And so I feel like I observe that a lot of you carry this draining energy of having this, I have to be up here for every new task I do, and that is draining. It's like, oh. It's like when I write or make a new video, you're like, I have to do this video 17 times to make it perfect. No. Do it badly to begin with, maybe do a second take, and be done. When I filmed all the videos for this productivity masterclass, I was on a time crunch. I only had 2 hours. I wanted to refilm some stuff. I couldn't. Had to go, put it out. It was done. Now you're all here. Yeah, so you can move a lot faster if you adopt this mentality. You can move a lot faster and with less emotional weight. Third, last one. Work capacity. If we acknowledge that in the gym, I lift some weights and I get stronger every week, every month, every year, yourself, your clients. Why don't also we acknowledge that with our work capacity in our businesses, in our life? Some of you may compare to me. You say, oh my God, he's working all day. Or look at this person or that person. I don't want to put myself in the same sentence as like Hormozy or Gary Vee. Like, I'm not trying to do that. But like, let's say you're comparing to them. It's like, oh, look at him, look at her. How do they work so much? Well, they built that over decades. So I know some of you in here that I've coached and work with now. You might get to 2-3 hours and you feel fatigued. Well, the goal would be to get to 2.5 hours, add an extra half an hour. So it's again, another perspective reframe, because a lot of the draining energy that we experience is just here. It's actually not your nervous system. Well, it's being caused by your brain to your nervous system, but a lot of it is psycho-emotional. So I just want to like release a lot of that for you, because I just don't hold on to a lot of that baggage, and it just gives me energy. And the reframe for you guys, the analogy is, you guys all know that you don't go in the gym from 0 to 5 days. You guys all know, do that with your clients. I want to train every day, coach. Hold on, cowboy. You only trained once in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We don't want you to get injured. I don't want you to get overwhelmed in this sense. So let's build up. I've built mine up over, 10 years. Since I was 15, 16 years old. Since I was getting up at 5, 6 a.m. as a young basketball athlete, just hungry, a dog. So with that in mind, don't expect to go from 2-3 hours a day to 8 hours a day. Otherwise, that feeling and perception of feeling like a failure will ensue, and you won't be inspired or encouraged to keep going. I'm not going to read every line. You guys can or watch it back. So like I said, if you're at 3 hours per day right now, progressively overload your work capacity. All right. I can only do a deep work block of 2 hours now. Let me see if I can grow 2.2. With the strategy of today, all of you should get an extra 10, 20, 30%. You adapt. People ask me, it's like, how do you do it? How do you work so long, so much? I've adapted. The muscle of my work tolerance has adapted. Yours will too. Given you also have the parameters of health in place: sleep, stress, environment, mindset, psychology. And then there's the question of that you guys will, I know, is coming. Well, do you just work all day then? When do you take a break? How do you know when to rest? You guys can drop in the comments if you want. This is the answer. I loved it. It's from Hormozy. When your output per unit of time starts to drop significantly. It's like almost like an engineering term, but it's very mechanical. When your output per unit of time begins to drop significantly. So your efficiency, like your ability to get work done, like drops over a threshold where it is no longer productive. For me, what I have felt in the past is like a tension and pressure in my chest that builds. Like I get this angst. I'm like, I got to get out of this room. It builds. And then I do. I don't feel that as much now, but that's one signing cue for me. So I'm observant of it and I reset. How I think about resets in the middle of my day, because this is another strategy for you guys that has helped me a lot. It's not that you sit down, work for 8 hours in a row. That's not exactly what we're saying. You can stop when you find the joy for the work disappearing. You can. I'm mindful that there's going to be also a lot of work, some of the work that we do that won't be we won't enjoy, meaning resistance is building up. You could. I'd be mindful that sometimes you just have to push through the resistance, right? It's like, okay, you got to acknowledge it. Do you just have to keep pushing through? Is this just uncomfortable part of doing the work, or is this something else? You can do voice. I don't know if you guys saw the messages. There's two things that I do that I encourage you guys to do that some of you may already do already, I'm sure, but these are strategic. Most of you train. Most of you watch some type of escapism and meditation or journaling, but most of you just do it without a lot of strategic thought about where it's placed in your day. How I would think about placing where to take a break is after a long, deep work session. If you don't know what deep work means, I'll explain it soon, but after a bout of strategic, conscious, intentional, focused work. After something that is fatiguing you cognitively, it's like you push to the limit of your capacity and then you put in place a reset. You're going to train anyway. You might as well put it at the end of a block, like a run, a walk, whatever you can fit within your schedule. If it's night, most of us read Netflix, something. I wonder if people think that I don't do these things, like they put me on a pedestal. So I'm mindful, once I heard like Hormozy say, like he watches, like his thing is like he'll just binge Netflix for like an hour or two. I'm like, oh, I don't know about you guys, but that helps me. It's like, oh wait, you can make $50-100 million a year and you can still do that? Because I think we think they're like superheroes. It's like, oh, it almost like gave me permission that it's okay to not be on. And I guess I want to give you guys permission to do that too. And so that can be a reset for you. Before we go to the next, I'll open it up to you guys if you want to. I'll just let it breathe for 20-30 seconds and you can share anything you're thinking or talking about.
Al, in your experience, do you find that scheduling these breaks in is more effective than being intuitive? Because I've grappled with both of these scenarios where, you know, I wait till my output of time drops significantly, and then I go for a run. But sometimes I find that's highly varied. I might be able to punch out 4 or 5 hours of writing all at once, and then I would miss my block for a run if if it was scheduled in. So, what do you think would be more effective? Do you need to open up your schedule so you can be intuitive, or do you need to block it? And even if you're in a deep work, or even if you don't feel like your output has diminished, take it anyway.
That's a great question. I think what I would suggest would kind of be in the middle, meaning you set an intention of where you suspect fatigue to onset, like let's say at the end of a 3-hour block, but it has some mobility. You don't have to actually stop at that time. If you need to keep going, you can. If you need to go earlier, you can.
Mm.
So I would have some fluidity in, here's the intention, I want to do it at 12, but it's a plus minus 90 minutes. I know for everybody's schedule, that's not going to work. Some of you are like, that's not going to work. You can't have as much fluidity. I know. Do your best. Try and anticipate. Schedule it in. Even just 10 to 20 minutes of going outside, resetting your mind and body makes a significant difference.
Cool.
I'll give it another 15 seconds if anyone wants to jump. That's a great point, Mary. Mary said, I find training drains my energy more than it serves me as a break. Because some of you are training real hard and it can be depleting. In that case, I would put that towards the back end of a day, if you can. And then you would pick something, Mary, that is energy giving. A walk, some yoga in the sun, some meditation outside. You'd find the threshold that gives you, the activity that gives you energy, but isn't fatiguing. That's a great example. All right.
Can I actually ask a question real quick?
Oh, let's go, Jai.
I'll shoot
stop
one.
doing that.
Do you ever delegate your time to do a specific task, and then when you've started doing it, like it's just the juices aren't flowing or it's not clicking? Do you ever just alter it from there, or do you stick with it?
Can you give me an example?
If I sat down to maybe make a kind of creative post for like social media or something like that, and it's just one of those days where nothing's coming to you, or you can't put together what you'd want, do you often pivot, or do you kind of stick with it and just try and knuckle in, get it done?
It depends. A lot of creative writers will tell you, creatives will tell you, you stick in the muck. You stay in the mud and you see what you can find, because often waiting in the mud, you can find jewels. Okay? In another sense, some people need to build momentum to tasks. So, for example, you might, all right, it's not happening right now. Give yourself X amount of time to try and find the gold. 10 minutes, 20 minutes. If you can't find anything, you can build on another task and come at it from another perspective. I guess you would have to ask yourself, am I just being impatient? Or is like, where's the block? What's the actual issue here? And then being like, do you just need to do it badly to start with again? Like, is it just coming to the expectation of just like, what do you mean you're not finding it? Like, yeah, I would think about those.
Yeah, it's obviously like not a black and white thing. I'd say I'd probably sway towards the side of saying, like, using it as a form of procrastination where you're like, oh, this isn't working, and just giving yourself as a bit of an excuse. But I guess everyone's different with that kind of thing.
Well, let's have a look. There's some good comments. And you guys can do voice. I'd love that too. Georgia, on my days where there is nothing rigid schedule, I just have a task list. When I'm done with one task, I move to the next one, not linked to time. Okay, so that's like task flow. Beck, you can't force flow. Sometimes it just ain't there. Yeah, I don't think you can force it. It kind of comes by creating an environment and a situation that is conducive to getting in a flow state, which is many of the things I'm going to show you. And Anthea, some of the best creative content is where I push through resistance and perfectionism. Do you see that, Jai?
Oh yeah.
And that's by someone who's like pretty successful and has put out a lot of stuff. Slay.
Slaying.
I see you marrying too.
Like, I might just add as well.
Yeah.
I feel like whenever I get in that rut, it's because I'm making my, for instance, an Instagram post, I'm making the post mean too much about me and making it mean too much about some outcome. I'm just trying too hard to control an outcome. And I think when you realize that, you're like, fuck, okay, let's just do it. And my intention will be to just like, I don't know, be consistent or like help at least one person. And then I feel like I can be like, oh, okay, it's not a big deal. So then I just do it.
You drop the expectation.
Yeah.
It's good. It's really good. Some
It's
of
a
my
slog.
it is 100%. For those marrying is the reason I use this word now. So y'all can thank her. Some of the best pieces of content, the most engaging, the things that have just come to me that you guys have loved as well, have come from frustrations, annoyance, and just a moment. Like a moment of like fucking the reason we're here. I didn't plan to do this. This isn't a strategic, let me try and make some money and create a masterclass. No. This might sound woo to some of you, but it's fine. I was getting signals from people, the universe, and they kept coming up. And it started to annoy me. I'm like, okay, I need to make something to solve this problem. So I was listening. I was observing. And I don't know, some of you might have saw the piece of content. I was going for a walk. It was raining. It was thunder. I just had a thought. It just came to me. Like I would listen and like ride the wave of the moments that come to your head. Because a lot of you have really creative, silly things that you judge in your head, that part of you is like, oh, should I share it? And you don't. You're self-conscious, you're insecure. Will they like me? What will they think? And as a result, you lose some of the best, most inspiring moments to connect with people. So I just want to give you guys permission that, like Ben in here, Ben DiCioccio, the story that we shared, like fuck. Like very go on my Instagram, his Instagram if you want to see. It's like very personal, very intense, like really. He didn't have to share that. He wasn't going to initially. But it's pushing through that fear. All right. Love this. This is probably what we'll go over because we'll have such good combo. Let's go habits. Let's get more granular. I'm not going to give you something complex here. I'm going to go dot point list. These are some major but simple things that done consistently can have profound impacts. All right. Number 1. Consistent wake sleep times, plus minus 1 hour. Yes, on weekends too. Number 1, the biggest difference. If you have a family, I know some of you have children. Ben can, my friend, mentor, business partner. The man gets up around 4 a.m., as I know some of you get up similar times as well. Because he has 2 children, another one on the way, his deepest, most focused work is when the house is dead quiet. Something I'll probably have to do as well when I have a family. And something that I would consider for all of you to bite the bullet on. If you're noticing that when your day begins, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., there's just distraction all around you, you have to create blocks in an environment that is non-distracting. This third point, some see as a luxury. I see as just what is better in most situations. A lot of people wake up tired and groggy because their alarm pulls them out of non-REM deep sleep stage 3 or 4. When you get pulled out of deep sleep, instead of your lighter REM sleep stage 1, 2, your likelihood to feel tired and groggy and fatigued is significantly higher. You're being ripped out of this very deep, like was it theta wave sleep, where you are in deep sleep, and being ripped out of it can create more latency, more time to come back to your baseline. An alarm doesn't know when you're sleeping. Instead, I would encourage you guys to wake up via the light. I wake up via the sound, birds. I know some of you, it's not going to be reliable. I would set an alarm as a backup, but I would encourage you to wake up when your eyes open. Just test it, okay? If you are completely reliant on alarms, you can also go a light. You can look up an alarm light. I'll put it in the Notion for you, and it will wake you up with light, which is much more conducive to what we've evolved to do and won't rip you out of sleep. It'll gradually take you out. Hydration. I got the Pellegrinos on deck. So, underrated, water. Many of you health professionals, but how many of you drink 750 to 1 liter of water within the first half an hour to hour of waking? Not too many of you. Don't let one of the easiest things to improve your energy and cognition limit you. This one right here I've underlined. It has been so impactful for me and clients of mine. This is not just N of one, this is like N of many. As quickly as you can, do your best to get outside in the light for 15 to 30 minutes, walking, looking in the direction of the sun. Huberman has talked about this ad nauseum. However, the noticeable difference I noticed to my energy, my attention, my focus, my arousal is large, as my clients is as well. There are hormonal reasons this occurs, and this will also help your sleep later in the night because the production of melatonin will occur earlier and you will feel sleepier earlier. So not only are we helping the top end of the day, we're helping the bottom end of the day. So it's a cycle. Great question. What if you wake up and it's still dark? Well, this is when I'm going to get into the lighting piece. Okay, stay tuned. If you wake up and it's still dark, you're going to max out all the lights you have available to you in your home. Now, the overhead lights are often not enough. There are some lighting panels that I recommend you get. One, my favorite brand, starting with Philips Hue. 6,000 lux into my retina. And I will show you why that has such an impactful effect, but it would be invest in bright lighting. Create your own sun in your indoor environment, as bright as possible. I know I got someone from the UK, I think here, or bought a ticket. UK's dark. More light. So important here. If you're not already doing it or not doing it consistently, don't do it. Time blocks in calendar. I can't remember who said it. Oh, Mac, I think it was. Mac, a Google Calendar, make it your best friend. Schedule time blocks in your calendar. This is not a Google Calendar time management masterclass, but it's a big part of that. What gets measured gets improved. If you're not using Google Calendar, it is by far one of the most important habits to reducing overwhelm. People think it's like, oh, it's rigid and structured. Where's the freedom? No, discipline equals freedom, as Jocko says. It gives you predetermined outcomes. So you have confidence and peace of mind. It's like, oh, I know when I'm doing that. Middle of the day, movement and training reset. This is big for me. It's going to be big for many of you, is you have that reset space. We spend a lot of time indoors. Going outdoors is going to be extremely beneficial. I'm going to talk about eye gaze later on, but looking out into the horizon is very relaxing to your nervous system. I would just caution, nocebo, which is the opposite of placebo. One time I thought I forgot my blue blockers when we were going to stay at an Airbnb somewhere in Victoria. I was like, oh no, my blue blockers. How am I going to sleep? I had this belief around sleep that I'm sensitive to sleep and this, that, and the other, and it was limiting me. But I rely on these tools because they do help me. But also that belief can cause more disruption and make things worse. Because when you don't do any one of these things, you might think, oh no. So just be very mindful that you're very adaptable. You're a human, you're robust. You will be okay if one or two of these things don't get done. Habits. If all of you do these 7 consistently, I know it's not, oh my God, this is so simple. Well, yeah. This is not eat sticks of butter. This is master the foundations. See if anyone knows that reference. Now, time blocking and deep work. Those who can master their focus can produce higher quality output in less time. This is very important. There's a book by Cal Newport called Deep Work. Highly recommend. We're going to define deep work versus shallow work. Deep work is distraction-free concentration that pushes your cognitive capabilities to their limit for meaningful growth. Most of the highest ROI time, return on investment, will be deep work. Shallow work does not require intense focus or high-level cognitive capacity. Responding to social media, admin, can multitask. This is deep work. If you can master the skill of deep work and you can do more deep work, your output per unit of time skyrockets. And we're going to be talking about creating an environment to raise that. I think this is one of the greatest skills you can have in the age that we're in now, that is constant distraction and constant dopamine. Y'all get, me included, like 3 seconds of Instagram or TikTok flies by. Boring. Just watch someone go through social media. I'm like, oh my God. Like, we're so quick to like not sit with something. So be mindful that you will need to build this muscle of deep work. I'm going to talk about how your environment is conducive to creating a deep work environment versus a shallow work environment. I give an example of this type of open area versus a closet. Another piece for reducing overwhelm is Cal in his book documented psychological benefits to engaging in deep work. It gives us a sense of meaning, fulfillment, and satisfaction, a sense of purpose. So I would ask yourself, if you're not fulfilled by what you're doing right now, how much shallow work and chasing your tail are you doing versus deep problem solving, sitting down, creating something?
Al, can I add something to that I think might be helpful for us?
Yeah.
For those that don't understand what I do, I run a couple of gyms, and for about 5 or 6 years, I was consumed by shallow work, and you guys may have experienced this too, where your whole life is just putting out fires, dealing with messages, getting an email, and I was stuck in that perpetual cycle. And one of the things that I found that I wasn't honoring is I actually didn't give myself an avenue for deep work. There was nothing actually meaningful to work on. And so one of the things that I did was I essentially said, well, what do I love to do the most? And what I love to do is write. And so I started writing. And in the first kind of initiative, or the first iteration of me writing, was just to write emails out to people who had subscribed to an email list. And I had like 3,000 people as a result of releasing free programs and stuff like that. And then that was a really great first iteration, and did allow me to sit down and do something what I found meaningful. And then that evolved into, hey, I'm really loving this. What happens if I actually wrote a larger body of of a newsletter? And so I released this product called it's called the Alleyoop, and it's a paid newsletter that people subscribe to, and it's about 15,000 or 20,000 words, and I write one every single month now. And it has been an absolute game changer, because not only do I get to now have an outlet for deep work, but it allows me to apply what I'm writing about in the newsletter to my own business. So I'm honoring that too. And I found that one of the things that, but perhaps if I didn't do that, I'd be in a very different place, and probably me and Al wouldn't even know each other, because I'm almost certain that Al first subscribed to the newsletter as his main way of interacting with my ideas around running a business.
Great.
And so one of the things that I'd recommend, and I hopefully not stealing your thunder here, Al, is that you almost need to give yourself permission to find what deep work looks like for you. And otherwise you will be consumed with the shallow work, as Al said. And deep work's this amorphous idea. What even is it? How do I do deep work whilst writing an email to a client? Or it's this amorphous concept. So I'd encourage you guys to have a think about that if you're not already.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. That's such a great insight. I encourage you guys to, because you all have your own really valuable experiences, and I encourage you guys to share your own too. I know there's a few gym owners in here. Shout out. This, you're not paying me to say this. Go look up Carl Alleyoop newsletter. It has some incredible, very practical business jewels in every single one that have changed my game and my life. Okay. Let's go here. All right. The business fallacy. Many of us are just appearing busy, like I used to do, tricking ourselves into thinking we're being productive. The more podcasts, the more books, the more X I input, the better I am. No. Do not mistake activity for achievement. Do not mistake activity for achievement. I used to think I was really busy. I was just consuming so much, just learning so much, and I wasn't actually getting a lot of output done, a lot of productive work done. So an example of what isn't deep work is not just watching a podcast or just reading a book for the sake of reading a book. It's like, how are you stretching your mind? How are you applying what you're learning? Shallow work gives the impression that we're being productive when we're just being busy. So if you say you're really busy, I don't think the goal is to be busy. Is the goal to be busy? Like, I try not to use that language. Because busy can tend to imply this, like, out of control. I'm just chasing my tail. I'm productive. I'm focused. So perspective on, this is what I used to do. I was just shallow work, chasing busyness. Are you doing that? Ask yourself if you're honest. Am I mistaking activity for achievement? Sit with that. Some principles of what deep work can can look like. Lean into boredom. There's a term called divergent thinking. Chris Dokranis showed me this from a book he read. Well, you know what it would look like? It would look like doing nothing. I'll show you an example. just like thinking, just like letting your mind go. It's not even meditation, it's thinking, it's letting your mind go. How many of us just sit down, look into the sky, and just intentionally try and put ourselves in an environment that allows creative thought and problem solving? I thought that was a rhetorical question. You guys are answering that. That's great. I'd love to share one then. I'd love to hear one example.
I'll share if no one else wants to, but I know that's a bit boring listening to me. So,
Well, I'll go. Kiara, Kiara, you do when you drive. That's common for. You just don't listen to anything when you drive.
Yeah, like it's usually quiet or some very non-stimulating music. And that's how I solve like most of my problems now.
Really?
Yeah.
That is so good. You can shower. Oh, shower. Underrated, Beck. Underrated. Carl?
I do two things. Shower is definitely one of them, which my wife hates, and I'm probably not satisfying good environmental goals with the water I probably consume unnecessarily in a shower, but shower's definitely one of them. I learned something from one of my mentors, and he calls it thinking time, which is actually a structured time block of about 45 minutes, where you take your pen and your journal, you find a specific and fixed location, and you write 2 or 3 questions on your page, and all you do is sit and think about the questions for 40 minutes. And pro to Kiara's point, I've this only a recent thing I've been doing, probably about for 2 months or thereabouts. But you end up solving some pretty big problems that way, because you know there's no computers, there's nothing around, your phone's in another room, and it's tough to do, but it's ridiculously effective. And I'm now up to doing that 4 times a week, at around 2 to 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And I feel like I want to even be doing more than that. And it's quite addictive once you can get over the difficulty and the resistance of sitting in a chair with a journal, and that's it.
Absolutely. It's obviously producing high ROI from you if you're wanting to do more of it.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question back to Carl? Being like a writer yourself, or really love the notion of writing, do you think it's going to be a lot harder for someone like me who doesn't have that, I guess, skill or that initial idea of just like writing and thinking so deeply?
Yeah, Max, that's such a great question. I'll give you some context which might be helpful. I didn't finish school. And I'm 32 now. I haven't really written with pens and papers for, I don't know, over 16 years. And so I actually found it really difficult. Even though I like to write, I've always written on a computer, and there's something tactile, and there's some differences between actually writing with pen and paper than writing with a keyboard. I actually found it massively difficult, Mac, to write pen and paper. And I can't even read my own writing half the time, which is another problem, of course. But I found it difficult, mate. I wouldn't say that my enjoyment for writing, using a keyboard has necessarily translated at all to my ability to write in a journal. I've found it very difficult, actually. And even just, I can stream of consciousness on a keyboard, it just goes, but I don't feel like I have that benefit yet in a journal. So it's something I'm working on. So I'd probably say, look, it hasn't helped me that much. So even if you feel like you're batshit rubbish at it, you
it's
can.
not just a muscle at this point. It's just like something that you got to.
Oh yeah, I have. It feels so foreign to write with a pen and paper, and I don't feel like I'm in the same zone of consciousness at all.
Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, all good.
Good talk. Okay. One of the most valuable things a very valuable thing I will share with you is do not do shallow work in the morning. Do not be responding to messages, emails, and admin in what is for most of you and what is most humans' highest cognition time, like highest ability to perform intense cognitive tasks is the morning for most people. Do not perform shallow tasks in the morning because there is user's time. It has an element of fatiguing nature to be constantly reactive and putting out fires, and it will fill your cup of cognitive load when you open your WhatsApp and open your emails and see I have half a dozen things to do now. Even the mere opening of these apps is problematic because it will get your mind thinking about all the things that you now have to reactively fix. Do not open them. I don't have notifications on my WhatsApp. I check it when I want. I don't have notifications on pretty much anything. Now, my own parents have a hard time getting in contact with me. I do this because I protect my mind state. I protect my most precious commodity, my attention, my focus, and my time. I have 2 phones for this reason. I have a work phone. I have a deep work phone. Leave and put shallow work, and I'll show you an example of a calendar, into later in the day or after a fatiguing task. Deep work is done when cognition is the highest. I will share this with you guys later. Bill Gates has something called Think Week. He goes away for 1 week, brings a couple of books, and does nothing. No one can get in contact with Bill Gates for like a week and a year. That's when so many of his ideas come to him. When you're in deep work, you will think, oh man, things will come to your mind. Where is it? Things will come to your mind. Looking for my journal. And what I want you to do is always have a pen, paper, and something to write on. Always. When those thoughts come to me, oh, I left the stove on. Okay, you probably want to turn that off. But like something, oh, I need to do that. Oh, I got to respond to that. Like things will come to you in deep work sessions where your mind will just get a little bit off. If you chase that, you can take yourself out of deep work and kind of compromise the efficiency of your work massively. Instead, you just need to get it out of you. Don't chase the squirrel, put the squirrel on the paper and deal with the squirrel later. You don't want to forget what you just remembered. You don't want to lose focus. Have a pen and paper or notes available at all times. That will help a lot if you're the type of person to just remember things randomly like I am. And it will clear space from what's called the working memory to focus the task at hand. Working memory is a model. It's an actual psychological term. Okay. Lean into boredom, drain the shallows, don't do shallow work in the morning. Spend 3 days out of the year taking nothing with you and go to an Airbnb and do nothing but think. And we have a new idea when you're doing something, pen and paper immediately in deep work. Check. This you guys will do later. Write 1 to 3 major life, career, health goals on paper. Time audit, meaning if you want to assess how well you're using your time, you're going to write down everything you do in a day in blocks of 15-minute chunks on a piece of paper. Bathroom, social media, sex, admin, whatever. Okay? Keep it with you all day. Or you can review Google Calendar, but most people's Google Calendar isn't done to that detail. Then, at the end of the day, you ask yourself, which activities were integral to helping me progress towards my desired outcome and goal? Determine the percentage out of your waking day spent towards goals. If you spend 1 hour of activities towards your goal, you spent only 6.25% of your waking day towards your goal. Why are we doing this? Many of you are frustrated by you not being where you want to in life. But in the same vein, many of you are only spending like 10% of your day towards your actual goal. And you don't know that because you haven't measured it. If then this was your friend and he was spending 6 or 10% of his day towards his goal, what would you say to him or her? Would you have a confidence that they were going to hit their goal? Not anytime soon. So the little brain and the little hand emoji this is an activity for you guys to do later. I know some of you are writing. Take a screenshot if you missed it. Watch it back. Now, another very good strategy that I got from Tim Ferriss, a highly productive, impactful man on this planet. Batching. A lot of you are doing reactive work. It compromises your productivity dramatically. There is a certain setup cost to starting a new task. I have to set up all these calls. I have to get in that mind state to begin working. I have to set things up. You have to set things up to begin writing. You got to get everything in order. But many of you are going from task to task. Task switching costs you time and energy. Instead, one strategy to perform at a higher output and level is you want to do something called batching, and that's compiling a list of tasks that are similar to each other together in 1 to 3 hours, weekly, monthly, or quarterly frequency. An example of this would be, let's say you want to film content. You can film a month's worth of content in 4 hours, 5 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours. But a lot of you, with your writing, with the things you're trying to create in the world, building a website, like you're doing like a little 20 minutes here or 30 minutes here, and you're just switching, and it's not even that deep focus. Batch your tasks that are similar, writing, content, filming, admin. A lot of you, now I do this strategically, but many of you just respond to people. I'm just going to get back to this message. Our new message comes in 1 hour later, respond to that phone call. Oh, let me get that. You're being pulled. Your attention is being pulled so much. If you allocate time towards those things intentionally, your ability to focus is going to be so much greater. Emails you're checking, social media, you're cooking every few hours for a new meal. Batch was why we sell people to meal plan, for example. So you think about, I want you guys to write some tasks that you could batch. For example, I do all my coaching calls are together. Even though I'm available in the afternoon to be booked, I don't take bookings in rare circumstances because I will batch my coaching calls together in the morning or the late afternoon and evening. Because there is a task switching cost. There's a setup cost to getting ready for a call. Reading check-ins and problem solving. It's like, I'm not going to take 10 calls separated by half an hour. It's like, I wonder how much of you resent or just have this ill feeling towards your work because shit is just sporadic. I don't blame you. Here's an example. Zoom in if you need. You can see in the blue, this is an example calendar. This is not mine. I've put in deep work for the first 2 hours of the day. Then there's something called, I call a breaker, which is a separate tasks together, separate tasks to switch. It's a task switching time allocation. Then let's say there's coaching calls. And the first 3 days of the week is that. And then the afternoon is free. Let's say you could put training in there. Then you can see admin. You can see more of a shallow work in the late afternoon. And there's a shallow work block in the orange. And there's more coaching calls after that. But in the dark green, in the back end of the week, there's no more coaching calls. There's creative deep work. And so now the week is segmented. Things are not random. Things are intentional. Now, this has some flexibility. You can move things by a day or half an hour here and there. It's not set in stone. But if you guys want to get the most out of this, create your own version of it. Create your own version of deep and shallow work. Oh, and batching. What could you batch to get more done in less time?
Hey, Alex.
Yeah.
I have a similar structure to that where it's like I kind of front load all my check-ins and client work and content. But then like my Thursday, Friday, I keep free for, working on the business, not in the business, working on new projects.
Yeah.
Do you ever get to a point where you're like fried by Thursday, where you've given everything to all the things you have to do? And then come Thursday, you have no juices left to get creative?
Anybody feel like that?
So it's not just me.
Has anybody overcome that?
Yeah, I do the opposite.
So you front load the week with deep work.
100%.
Yeah.
All my calls are Wednesday, Thursday. For that reason. So I get Monday, Tuesday is like, even if shit hits the fan, Monday and Tuesday were good days.
Is that Huey?
Hey, that's my little one. Sorry, guys. They're about to run to the park. I might mute myself, but
Sorry.
it worked for me. Yeah.
Mary, I wonder, I know it's logistically, it's like flipping your week is like seemingly annoying, but would you try it?
I kind of did. So like I'll take Mondays until 4 p.m. like free, and then I'll do my Monday evening calls. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll do like half day check-ins. So that way, like instead of doing 2 full days of client work, I'm still leveraging the first half of the week so I can do something like that's not client related. But yeah, I guess it just depends on the week. Like there are just some weeks where like, I don't know, maybe I had a really intense block of check-ins, and then I just know that my Thursday's a bit of a write-off. And then I'll just kind of like change my schedule. Like instead of doing that new project that I wanted to do, I'll just do something that's more shallow rather than deep. And I kind of just like, it's almost like auto-regulation in the gym, but I just do it with my work.
But is that able to give you enough space and energy to still do that creative deep work later in the week, or is that displaced for the next week?
Sometimes I'll just do it on a weekend instead. If I couldn't do it on a Thursday, like I'll literally just take half a day off if I need it. And if that means restructuring my week, like on a Sunday, just doing all the work that I didn't do on the Thursday, like that's kind of how I deal with it.
That sounds like a viable strategy then.
Yeah, just wanted to get a second opinion or third.
I would be wary of the belief that you have to be fatigued. Not you have to be. Like we both know how mentally and emotionally challenging it can be to hold space for the conversations that we have. But I'd be wary of the expectation perhaps that has been built around, Thursday's coming, usually happens. I would consider reframing that and kind of not allowing that to come into your thought.
Yeah, that's true. And like there are some weeks where it's like I do have the capacity to handle intense calls and intense work.
Yeah.
I guess that also comes down to like being a female. Like I just know some weeks I'm fucking superwoman. And other weeks I'm just like, I will do the bare minimum and just get through this week. So it really does depend.
There's honoring the seasonality of being a woman through your cycle and dropping or lowering the expectation to be a superwoman during a luteal phase.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, guys.
Alex, sorry, I just had a question.
That's okay.
I already was kind of writing it in the chat, but I wanted to see if you have anything to say about this. How do you work around client availability with like allocating your blocks of coaching calls?
I have multiple. Okay. Consider your clients, knowing, generally speaking, humans are available usually before work or after work. Okay, so morning and evening, and late afternoon. This covers 95% of people. So you have block in the morning and block in the evening, and you can front load the first half of the week. Most of you, all of you should be able to find 20 minutes. Your client should be able to find 20 minutes, 15 minutes from Monday to Wednesday in the morning or evening.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I deal with it.
Okay, thank you.
I know it's pick the time strategically. That's work for me with all mine.
We also get what we tolerate too.
Yeah, I really struggle with the boundaries of it. So I'll book clients whenever they're available, and I might have a 10 a.m., a 2:30, and then a 4:30. And then I'm essentially working from 10 till 5, but I've only got 4 clients. And then realistically, when you have an hour and a half in between clients, you just don't get efficient work done.
That needs to change. Chloe,
Yeah.
over enough time and enough clients, you're going to start to resent your situation and them. And you'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't have time for this. Oh, I can't do this. This is when it's going to be like, I have to do this call now. It's not going to be, I get to do this. It's going to be, I have to.
Like I'll finish at 2 o'clock, but I'm going to wait for a client to come at 4:30. So I have to wait around. But yeah, definitely batching. That makes so much sense. Like, and it's something that you know, but you feel bad at the time when someone's messaging you. I can only come at 4:30, but setting those boundaries.
It's not even like we think it's I can only come, but Carl is 100% right. He's talked about this. We get what we tolerate, right?
Yeah.
People apply. We're not so busy where come on guys, like most people have somewhat of an adaptable schedule. Like work with people to work within your block of time, do the best you can for them, but you have to have boundaries. Otherwise, eventually, build, overwhelm, fatigue, reactive, don't have time to work on in the business, start to feel like this is how some people just end up leaving this industry is because they just don't even set up a week that is productive towards their goals. It's everywhere, everything at once.
Yeah.
You know what you need to do.
Yeah.
That's good. Now, after a bout of learning, after a deep work task, there is a defocus protocol that I have. So a lot of memory consolidation actually occurs not during the task, just like muscle growth does not occur during training, it occurs after. Same with memory and consolidation of it. So after a long bout of learning, deep work, nothing. You all, including old me, would go to the next task. All right, done here, next task. It's like, hold on. Most people, when they go to a restaurant, they finish their meal. Most people don't immediately go to the check. Like, hey, how was that? Did you like that? What was your favorite part of the meal? Would you like some wine, dessert? Sit with it. Take 10 to 30 seconds to 1 minute. What I do is I lay down on the ground, I stare at the ceiling, and I do nothing. I just think. Bit of divergent thinking. And I encourage you all to do the same to unwind from being wound up. So I think after a lot of those calls, Mary, a lot of those calls that a lot of you guys are doing, man, they could be heavy. Like, all right, next thing, hold on. Someone just told you they were abused as a child. How about you sit with that for 10 seconds? How about you decompress how that made you feel? How about after this 2.5, 3 hour call, you guys just be like, all right, what's for lunch now? No, hold on. That's a lot of content. Why didn't you think about it? What did you learn? And so we do this in some areas of our life, but we don't do it often in some of the most important. You can also do non-sleep deep rest meditation. You can YouTube that. It's a great tool and technique popularized by Huberman, or a nap. The science of this is rest and then spike adrenaline. So it would be rest, then train, rest, then walk, rest, then run. It's very effective. This is your post-learning defocus protocol to restore dopamine levels, consolidate memory, and improve neuroplasticity. I would do this and take a break now, but with the time constraint, we will keep going. But I will pause for 10 seconds. Okay. Let's get more pillowful, more fun. Light. This is an example of Philips Hue lighting, and I'm going to show you guys my day workflow setup and my night workflow setup, which allows me to be very highly focused and productive. I know, Avi, you probably love this shit. Okay? Here's an example of what my setup looks like. It's a real setup, nothing changed. Look, there's a smoothie on the desk. This is day. Ladies, I got the makeup light, right? $20. Okay? Nice glow to one side of my face. Then I have a more expensive $200-$300 Philips Hue lamp. The good thing about that is it changes colors, as you guys saw in the video I sent you yesterday. Why the light? And what do you do if you wake up before the sun? Bright light exposure increases cortisol and adrenaline. What does that do? Promotes alertness and energy levels. How do you expect to be like really bouncy and have great energy when there's no light on you? Light is incredibly important for your neuroendocrine system. It increases serotonin, it improves mood and wakefulness. What does that do? Well, that reduces depressive feelings. The email I sent you on seasonal affective disorder, which people get during the winter and colder months, is facilitated by lack of light. So if we observe people to get depressed seasonally during winter, well, why don't you think a version of that can happen if you wake up and your lighting is just overhead? You need to put some attention to it, because this modern lifestyle that we live in is not very conducive often to our brain. We see in research, this is not theories, in faster reaction time and greater psychomotor vigilance, reduced evening fatigue, irritability, and daytime sleepiness with bright light exposure in the morning, greater positive mood and concentration. Another reason why I'm telling you guys to get outside in the light, even if it's an overcast day, and look up to the sky. Study. Exposure to light at 6,500, which is the exact equivalent to what these lights do. The makeup light is nowhere near as bright. 6,500. Improved alertness, cognition, and sustained attention during this psychomotor vigilance task. So, okay. You see some research showing that light improves it. Another one. Blue enriched white light in workplace improves self-reported alertness, performance, and sleep quality, and it's all statistically significant. Although they used a very, very bright light. They used like a professional light that they use like on camera crews. But you were seeing the direction of improvement. Like, okay, light, we need more light. So I kind of, I trip out a bit when I go inside people's homes, or I see people's offices and like the blinds are closed and everything's like dark. And I'm like, oh, no wonder. So I got a lot of natural light coming in here, as you guys saw. Do the same. Wake up with light. How early is too early for this light? This answer is simpler than you think. when the sun rises, as soon as the sun comes up, you need light, right? The sun's coming up. Too early, you could argue that, well, humans generally need to get up before the sun. That's not evolutionarily consistent. But if you do, then there is no too early if you have to get up early, if that makes sense. Like, if you have to get up before the sun, then give yourself bright light exposure to raise your energy and attention and arousal. The app Philips Hue with the light. You can automate it to turn on and raise as you're waking up. Gradual light, not abrupt sound like an alarm. Like I said, outdoor light exposure, very important. Indoors, full blast. Full blast. Philips Hue 6500, you'll see the lighting. It'll show you how bright it can go. It's in the Notion that I'll share with you guys later. Like, my eyeballs. You don't believe me? Go look up to the sky. 5, 10, 15 minutes. This is an example of how the morning light helps regulate what happens at night via a part of our brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It boosts serotonin and melatonin in the night. So we're controlling this. Cortisol, adrenaline, very important for driving action. Can you see why we want to maybe put deep work in the beginning of the day and shallow work at the end, given the circadian rhythm that is happening?
Al, can I ask a question on this light scenario? This is my naivety. Is there actually a meaningful difference between sunlight and these, what I would call artificial lights, or is the brain and the retina interpreting these lights in the exact same way?
No, there is a meaningful difference. Let me see if I can. See if I can find, like, the light of outdoors. Okay, great. This actually works. So this light I have here, it'll get to about 6,500. An overcast day will get to 7,000. A normal day outside will go 10,000. So even this light is only like 60% of like a day like today in Melbourne. Okay, so there is absolutely a meaningful difference in the bright light, in the actual the brightness. And number two, the sun carries UVA, UVB, part of that which darkens our skin and also helps synthesize vitamin D. So there is definitely a very meaningful difference in the exposure that you will get from the sun and artificial light, in its brightness, in its wavelength, and in its ability to create and synthesize hormones. Hence why I keep encouraging you guys to get outside. We use this because we acknowledge that we're not going to always work outside. We have desks inside. And it's doing the best we can with what we have available.
Cool. Great to know.
Great one, Kenneth. Didn't even know you were in here. Light meter. Kenneth, can you put the link in there? Kenneth actually put me onto this. One of my clients, mentees. It measures the amount of light in kelvins, and so you can see, like, how bright is it in here? Oh my god, 2,000. No wonder I'm tired. It's dark as shit in here. Go outside, 10,000. Oh my god. No wonder I feel better now. So we will manipulate light to create mood and control arousal. There's a reason why you go the red light at night. Fire. A red lamp. You all could walk into any office, workplace, and improve their productivity measurably just by changing their lighting. So if you have employees, clients, get them to change their lighting and watch what happens to their mood and attention. Night. The opposite. Now here's what most of your night setups look like. Some of you even have overhead lights on, which, I mean, some people are resistive to it. Some people can actually fall asleep in bright light. Their genetics are different. Most people aren't built like that. Most of you have this bright light, and this looks normal to some of you, right? No. Instead, this is what my setup will look like at night. Before, after. Before, after. It almost looks photoshopped. Everything's red. And I'll show you how we do that. Because you want to block and minimize the invisible blue light spectrum that is keeping you up and suppressing melatonin and actually keeping you much more aroused. If we use light in the morning to keep us aroused and awake, we should do the opposite at night to drop us down. This is what I use. It's called Iris. It's very good. There's also another one called F.Lux, Flux. But this is much better. And I can make my entire screen and get rid of pretty much all blue light. So I would get all of that for your Macs, your computers. If you have an Android, there is also a much better blue blocker called Twilight. It just came to me. The iPhone one is not very good. Then we use these. Many of you use them. Some of you know of them already. For night work, where you just have to get stuff done, but you still want to be mindful of getting good quality sleep. Blue blockers, Iris, red light, drop all the light down. The setting and environment is different. You're in a much more calm state, and you can help land your plane to fall asleep much easier. You don't have to get, these are mine, Right Optics. You don't have to get a more expensive pair like this. You can find cheaper ones. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints?
So, say you've done some deep learning and you've been in deep focus, should you try to decrease your light, or it doesn't really matter about the light after you've done some work?
After you've done work, should you change the lighting? It depends what state you want to put yourself in, Georgia. Do you want to keep maintaining that high focus, or do you want to come back down? Because it can be very calming to drop the light down. But it's also quite nice to go outside for a walk after you learn. So I wouldn't say it's that important. I would say ask yourself, what state do I want to now be in? For example, I'll have multiple workspaces. Don't just work inside, work outside. Most of you have an outdoor table, bring your laptop there. Now, I know these things seem seemingly unimportant to some of you. Light, sound, air, who gives a fuck? Let me show you. Binaural or monaural beats. I love these. They work so well for me. They will not work amazing for all of you. You will see. These are, and put your hand up if you've ever listened to them. You're presenting two different frequencies in each ear. A lot of us underestimate how much sound disturbs our focus. Many of us can be very sensitive to it. You want to put headphones on and you want to listen to binaural beats. I'm going to give you guys an example in a second. Headphones, because you can lock in more and you can hear the frequency differences. You know what, before I even show you the practical, let me share what it actually sounds like. Let me know if we can hear this. Can I get this? as I'm working, I'll be listening to this like a sound bath. Yeah. Good question. Should this be loud or quiet, like background noise? It's putting me to sleep. Okay. So you have to be mindful about which one you use. The one I listen to on Spotify is a bit different and more stimulating. There are many frequencies. I encourage you to try, because that doesn't work for me, that one. I just needed to find you a kind of nice example. Find one that works for you, one that gets you in a state of focus. You can use pink noise. You can use white noise. Classical music, placebo works. I love it. Classical music can also work. I would just put it on repeat. The thing about the hypnotic nature of binaural beats is it's the same. What pulls people and distracts them is a change in frequency and a change in sound. Handpan. Does house music work? Yo, there's some people who would love to. Where's Mariam, Mac, Anthea? That I think they love that stuff. They call that high frequency music. Heavy psytrance. You know what? Why not, guys? Repetitive? Guilty. Techno helps. Look, yeah, especially if it can be repetitive and it can be like a loop and you can just repeat that. What I'm showing you actually has research and science behind it. Never seen techno to improve focus, but if you feel more focused, fuck the science. It's fine. So if you have classical, you have Beethoven on repeat and you're just jamming out, right? Like sometimes I'll even put like a hip hop song. That's just like hypnotic to me. 5 minutes before, as you're prepping to the task, because some of you, it's hard to get into deep work, take off the plane. Plane doesn't just go up. It builds up. 5 minutes before, ease your way in, take the plane off, and then your high focus task begins. We think it maybe increases acetylcholine and dopamine. Make it monotonous. Be mindful to not be distracted. Donnie, my camera guy, showed me these new Apple Max headphones. I just got some. The sound noise cancelling is amazing. It's almost concerning how amazing it is, because if someone tried to come up behind me, they could probably kill me, right? I wouldn't hear nothing. But that can be a great tool when you're trying to focus. You want to block everything out. So whether it's a car driving by, a car horn, like any of these things can take you out of the moment. And so we want to try and control the moment with consistent sound. Here. It improved vigilance, performance, and mood. Presentation of beta frequency binaural beats yielded more correct target detections and fewer false alarms in presentation. Results suggest the presentation of binaural auditory beats can affect psychomotor performance and mood. That's good. If you want an app, here's a good one for free. It's called Brainwaves. Spotify, I use. I'll link in the Notion which one I like. Cool. Sound. See the layers we're going? Light, sound, mindset, beliefs. Do you see the structure? Before we get here, we got to go mindset. Now we're going deeper. Now, when I saw this, I'm like, whoa, okay. Something probably none of you think of, because we just breathe. Air pollution impairs strategic decision making. Is this the top of the hierarchy? No. But if you live in an area or a part of the city or a city that is more polluted, like the CBD, near highways, this becomes very relevant. But even if not, let me show you how. 121 elite chess players. Researchers measured players' exposure to air pollutants during tournament play over about 3 years. They found a modest increase in air pollution particulate matter of just 10 micrograms per cubic meter increased players' probability of making a mistake by more than 26%. Okay, some of you are like, what? How is that meaningful? Yes, let me show you. This will become more evident. There's something we use PM 2.5. It measures the particulate matter in the air below 2.5 microns. And most cities go between 14 to 70. If you live in a high urban environment, what's the practical here? Use an air filter. Use plants, but particularly an air filter. Because why would you want, it's not just cognition that you're affecting, it's disease risk and lifespan, which I'll show you. And because we take for granted the air we breathe, but there's a lot of pollution. There's combustion engine, there's from cars, there's the coal power plants that contribute to a lot of environmental pollution, forest fires, which we get in Australia a lot, indoor cooking. The World Health Organization estimates that air pollution leads to over 4 million premature deaths, particularly in Asian countries like China, due to cancer, cardiovascular problems. We care about, it'll accelerate aging if you care about your skin. Here's why this is important. I'm fine, I have plants. Essential oils diffuser. That's a good one. Elaborate on that one for people, because some people may think that's still fine or healthy, if you can, Mary.
Yeah, I think it's fine and healthy. Not necessarily to clean up the air, but more so for the effect that something like lavender has on your memory retention, like short-term memory. And then like sometimes I'll use like a meditation oil just to get into that flow state.
That's
Have
great.
it on, but yeah, not related to the purity of the air. Just side note.
When I go for my walks, when I try and calm down, there's like these lavender plants. I'll just grab the lavender plant, smell it and sniff it, like grab between my fingers. I did this morning and I smell it. I just got calm down. It's been shown in some research to help calm you down, but you don't need research. It actually just feels better. So you can get some lavender, put it in your desk, nice little smell. Namaste. Okay, here's why this is important. Good is 0 to 12 right here. Just watch for that number, okay? This is Melbourne, usually 37. I'm telling you, good air quality that is satisfactory or poses little to no risk is 0 to 12. Melbourne, it says good, it's not good. As in, it's not ideal good or optimal. It is above the threshold. And then you can see here the different numbers across Melbourne. Okay, look, one part of the city is 51. Let's see. Little fun experiment. What do we think oh, look at that. This is impairing our strategic decision making, our ability to think, our respiratory health, asthma, things like this. It's not just cognition. What do we think is one of the most polluted cities in the world? Put it in the comments.
China.
Beijing. That's it. India. Good one. Melbourne is up there apparently. Well, I mean, looking at this, you will see how it's compared to the other ones. It's not. But let's find out. Look at that. I don't even know where that is. Y'all can tell me. India, China. This is considerably more polluted than what we're living in right now. So if you go to any of these cities and you start noticing like, what the, my skin, I'm not feeling the same, XYZ, like this is definitely a contributing factor that is causing worsening health. All the way for like Japan and Abu Dhabi, where else? Germany, like Chile, like places you would visit. So remember the study? A difference, an increase in 10, meaning from 40 to 50 or 50 to 60 within that range I gave you, can contributed with those chess players to worsening cognition and more errors. 10. What do we do about this? Get an air filter. Like, why make air? Like, we might as well eliminate an easy thing. The PM 2.5 is 62 right now in Melbourne. Not very good. an air filter reduces it below 0.3. 0.3. So we're going through the layers of creating an environment that is conducive to the highest performing, highest health individual person that you can be. And I have a variety of them in the Notion I'll share with you. Get an air filter. Yes, plants will help to an extent. They'll take CO2 out of the air, but they won't filter out other things. Actually, I went down a rabbit hole for a few hours on air and filters and stuff like that. So it'll save you a lot of time. But we don't need to spend too long on that. TLDR, get an air filter. When the bushfires were going on, actually, before everything went a bit wild with the world, I got an air filter, a mask. And I was wearing it because I would realize at the time how, in 2020, how bad that is for your health. Questions, thoughts? Mm-hmm. All right. Environment. I appreciate that, Ryan. Thank you, man. Environmental imagery and workflow. What does this stand for? I know some of you know. My science people. That's right, Don. Reticular activating system. It is the information filter. It will preferentially find and highlight things in your environment to support your beliefs. To feel better, perform better, you must place things in your environment that are associated with what you desire. I'll give it a sec. This will alert the brain of important information. It's like when you're in a busy crowd, you can hear your name. The car you drive, you can see that car more often. You didn't notice it before. That's the reticular activating system. Now, how is this relevant? You want to create an environment that is ultimately constructive to the person and the life that you want to create. People create things like vision boards. And an old me used to think I was skeptical. However, I think this is incorrect. Like, I don't think you need to be skeptical of it because of how they make you think and feel. Practically, posters, statues, figurines. I got little, like, my little Buddha man here, books behind me. Someone who's had a large impact on me and my business as well, Brandon Carter. He loves money and making money in business. He has a bunch of money rugs, like Benjamin Franklin. He's got a money rug. He's got like money rug all in his house. He's like creates things in the environment to remind him and his reticular activating system to the pursuit of the thing he wants. So you surround yourself with success, health, and wealth. You don't just believe what you see. It's cut off. You don't just believe what you see what you believe. You don't just believe what you see what you believe. You know, I got Jay on the floor. If you can see Jay-Z. Ever I'm going through something difficult, I'm like, what? Or I'm like, not every time, but anytime there are things that are challenging me from a business perspective, or I ever think, you might think, or limit yourself to what you're capable of doing. Well, Jay-Z came from the fucking ghetto. He was a drug dealer. He shouldn't even be alive. Billionaire. I just look at Jay, I'm like, okay. And he's got just everything specific, like even the way he's looking, like this, like it's serious kind of look. It's like, all right, let's go. Behind me, Batman and Robin. No, I'm not a undercover superhero. Maybe. I can't tell you. But there are things and expressions of my character there, like I've said in the video. So strategically put things in your environment to confirm the person you want to be. So lazy. Oh my God. that's the best. Oh god. Yeah, let's get some of this. You guys can do that. Here's an example of Hormozy. He works in a closet. Some of you will prefer to do this. No distractions, no windows. You're in like a prison cell you've created. Screen, chair, work. I don't love that, but you can do that. There's no distraction. You're not looking out at the cars and the people. Because when people walk past here, I'm like on vigilance. I'm on like alert to protect. So mindful of that. This is me. You see all the light and open. Think about which one you want to create. You want this one, or you want this one, or something in the middle. I would try both. Because he's a very productive man. He's able to work for long periods of time, zoning in, writing his book for hours on end. He does that by creating this environment. I do my version by creating this environment. This right here, a fat screen with a PH, is super underrated, and a laptop versus a laptop is a massive difference. Here's how I'm going to show you how you can save at least 7.5 days of your life over the next 20 years. Shout out ChatGPT. I'll read this out. Working 4 hours a day. Let's say you work 4 hours a day at a computer. Most of you do. If you do more, which you probably do, then this is even a bigger example. Let's say that the time between switching tasks, switching windows, because I got like 4 windows open right now. Let's say the switching windows takes you 2 to 3 seconds. Assuming you do that 20 times per hour, that's around 40 to 60 seconds time spent between switching. I then calculated through the help of ChatGPT, what if I had a 48-inch ultra-wide monitor and could have 3 windows open simultaneously? How much time could I save? 13 to 20 seconds per hour. You're thinking, who cares? Over the course of a 4-hour day, I could save 52 to 80 seconds, about a minute and a half. Okay, rough estimate. That's in one day. Who cares about a minute and a half? How about a year? Well, in a year, I could save 5.3 to 8.1 hours per day. You also save the frustration of losing thoughts. Yes. Slay. Over 1 year. How about 20 years? Because most of you you're not thinking long enough. 20 years, you will spend or save 4.4 to 6.7 days of time if you get a big screen, like an ultra wide, versus a single smaller screen. Roughly. If you spend more than 4 hours working at a computer, like many of you do, you will save much more of your life. How many inches is your screen? 48? It's linked in the Notion I'll share later. Big, fat. It's like the example that I gave you in the photo. That's a lot of time, isn't it? And that's just one change. Screen's like, how much did I pay? $1,500, $1,700, 100% worth it. So there's 6 days of your life. Damn, okay. How about something as silly as pressing Control V, Control C? Copy and paste. 10 times an hour. Let's say you work 4 hours and it takes 1 second per operation. Control C, Control V. I promise stick with me. Over the course of a 4-hour workday, that's about 3 minutes. Just pressing those buttons, 20 years, 3 minutes a day, 40 times a day. It almost doesn't even seem real. 15 plus days of your life is going to be spent pressing a couple of buttons to perform an action at your computer over the next 20 years. If I got the math wrong, blame ChatGPT. No, blame me. But you can see the calculations. Okay, what can we do with this? What if I could save you half of that? Let me show you the technology I use. This. Hello. There are buttons on the side of this wireless Logitech mouse that I have programmed to do an action. if you spend so much time at your desk or computer performing repetitive actions, let's make them more efficient. There's a button. I've programmed it to do that action. Control C, another one right next to it. I just move my finger a millimeter. This keyboard is a gaming keyboard. I use it to game life. On the side, you see G1, G2, G3. If there's anything you do repeatedly, you can program it. Is it opening a window, opening like a folder that you always open that has your coaching in it? Is it opening a browser? If you have big ambitions to create a big business and a lot of money, then this is a higher level of thinking to be more efficient and save time. Seemingly small actions compound over time. If we can save 7.5 days with a mouse, then we can save another probably 10 days of life or hours over a course of a year with just a good piece of technology. The principle, it is good, isn't it? Well, you're already on it, 8. You're searching for tiny marginal improvements in everything you do that adds up to a huge improvement over a large period of time. This is from James Clear. Some of you who are skeptical is because you overestimate the importance of a single defining moment and task, and you underestimate the value of small improvements over a period of time. Desk chair, there's a special Manson. You want to see my chair? You want to see my chair right now? It's not even a chair. I recommend it. I'm moving out right now. But what do you mean desk chair?
Comfortability.
Sorry?
Comfortability.
Comfortability.
Yeah. Like, I get you're about discomfort, staying cold, but I don't want no back pain.
No, for real. That's 100%. If you're more comfortable, you're less distracted. But you're not so comfortable that you're like, I'm going to sleep now. No. I don't use that for like that Goggin shit. I use that because we sold all our chairs. I'm going to link you guys the chair that Rogan uses in his podcast. The phone. Who has their phone on their desk when they work? If we're honest, or in their peripheral vision? Thanks for being honest, guys. I appreciate that. Big problem. Has to be taken to a different room or outside of your peripheral vision entirely. No games here. Even the mere presence of the phone in your peripheral vision is enough to divert your attention and reduce your ability to focus. When I get fed up with it, I toss it out the window. Well, let's be proactive. Let's not wait till we get fed up. I have 2 phones, and it's not because I'm a drug dealer that you know of. Sorry, that's a typo. It's just a utility phone for when I need to unplug. I recommend it. You don't need to get a $800 phone. You can get a $100 phone that's secondhand. Just for an example, I have this here. Your work phone is associated with work. Well, Mary, don't tell him my secrets. Light phone. It's a good one. Link it. If you can find it. One of your phones is associated with work, dopamine, adrenaline, go time. The other one, they're both phones, but when I use the other one at night, I don't have that association in my brain to just go. It seems like they're the same device, but they have different associations. Consider this. The biggest thing I'm going to tell you is you have to have the phone in another room or completely outside of your vision. Because that phone is associated with so much mental space. Oh, the message, the phone call, it buzzes. Again, you think, oh, it's just a couple of moments in the day. Your life isn't just a day. Your life is tens of thousands of days. And the quality of that is being diminished because of the presence of this device when you want to be productive. Don't believe? Okay. Researchers found that participants with their phones in another room significantly outperformed those with their phones on the desk. And they also slightly outperformed those participants who had kept their phones in their pocket or bag. I don't even like having my phone in my pocket, especially when I train. It just feels, I want to be unencumbered. So, your brain power is being reduced by the presence of your phone when you're trying to be effective. Some of you have been distracted by your phone in this conversation today. You hop on it, respond to that message. What did I say? What did he say? I don't know. Phone. Now, when fatigue comes, I talked a little bit about resetting. Here's another practical strategy. Simple solution. If you have to stay at home, fatigue is knocking, and you need to reset. To reiterate, go outside, walk or run, or do HIIT, high intensity interval training. Not because there's some magic about it that is better than, well, I guess there kind of is. I'll show you why. And if you can leave, train after a deep work block. I'm going to explain to why HIIT is particularly helpful, that type of training. Because high intensity exercise increases lactate, which is transported into the brain and increases, see that emoji? Serotonin. High intensity training like HIIT increases lactate, increases the transportation into the brain to increase serotonin to help you feel better. So if you need to reset after all those calls, I would consider 5, 10, 15 minutes of a reset like that. You'll feel different. You don't just have to sit with your fatigue and your stress. You can reset it. And serotonin plays a very large role in the regulation of self-control and interference control and selective attention and cognitive ability. So if you find your willpower, which I also don't really believe in, but that's another conversation. If you find that your self-control is being limited, try this. What I do is I have multiple workstations. So I'll go outside. It makes a big difference. I will have an outdoor table with my laptop and I'll just reset and I'll go outside, and being in the light, the sun, and outdoors, it feels different. If I'm getting too much tension building up inside, I'll go outside and it'll reset me and I can keep working for longer. So if you can have multiple workstations, it can make a very significant difference. You can last for longer. So I would move yourself outdoors for 1 to 2 hours if that fatigue is building. Simple solutions to complex problems. You can get a bike desk. Look that up. It's a bike that has a desk on it. I think Mariam, you said that because Mariam does, she works in the beauty industry and she does people's like face. Sorry, that's a very bad explanation of what you do. I know you do more than that. But maybe you could get a bike desk. A little, if you really want it. Sorry, Mac. Yes. And there's a study that shows it. All right. Second last one. Eye gaze. What? Eye gaze. Strange. Energy goes where attention flows. The eyes control the attention. I'm talking about your visual system here. Mental focus, much of it is dictated by visual focus. if you can, look outside right now. Look outside your window. And look out into the horizon. What's happening now is looking far away relaxes the muscles in your eyes. It's much more relaxing to look at a horizon. When you come close, we see a constriction. So to minimize nearsightedness and to calm your nervous system when you're getting too built up, pent up, try and get in panoramic vision and spend more time looking at objects far away from you. Because if your cup is filling as you work more, and you feel tension build up, then you want to kind of release that pressure a bit. And one seemingly small, unimportant thing can make a meaningful difference. When you look at a horizon, when you're on the beach, or whether you're just looking out into the distance, into nature, you feel calmer. So every 15 to 30 minutes, you would want to look outside the window or look up into the distance if you're outside and get panoramic. And just breathe. And so that's because we're here for so long. So it's a small thing, but it's a meaningful thing. And we're just compounding all these strategies and tactics on top of each other. And then, when you're getting tired and you're in a lecture, maybe some of you today, I hope not, but and you're like, your head just drops down, you get a bit sleepy. Well, the direction of where you're looking appears to matter. There is some evidence that suggests that eye gaze can influence your alertness while you're engaging in focused tasks. This now dictates the placement of your workspace. Don't look down when you work. At minimum, keep eye gaze in your workstation at eye level or slightly above. If you notice you're getting tired or fatigued as you work, try this simple, elegant strategy. Look up. I know it seems silly. Just look up. Look up and try and go peer outside and just step outside for a moment and a minute and look up. Or just even at your desk, look up. And it can help signal to the brain wakefulness. Yeah, this is some nerd stuff. Maybe because the locus coeruleus releases adrenaline via the melanopsin cells underneath our eyes, and perhaps that has an impact when light penetrates it. Don't put phone screen below eye level, but which is commonly what we do if we're working at a laptop, like on our lap. Try and prop it up at eye level. When tired after a long bout, gaze upwards. You will see once you test these things, their merit to you. Eyes up, alertness; eyes down, sleepiness generally. Questions, comments, thoughts? What was this one? So there's merit to having a monitor wall mounted higher up. Yeah. Oh, that Apple Watch. Yeah.
You can also get just a monitored desk, essentially. It's like a little mini desk, call it 15 or 20 centimeters high, that you actually mount your monitor on. And then what I like about it is you can put all your cabling underneath that. So it's actually not on your workspace. So it kind of just like an addition on the desk. It works quite well too.
If you can link that would be good. I want to see this
and they're like $60. And just all in different colors, depending on what desk you've got. I'll do that for you.
Yeah. 100%. Link it, Matt. Oh, sorry, Matt. Chloe. Link it, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that now.
Thank you. Okay. Now, it's probably a bit more exciting for you guys. Nutrition, hydration, supplementation. We didn't start with this because I don't think it's the most important. I think you need to get the foundations right. But I know some of you will love this, and it can have a big impact. But before we talk about that, there is something that y'all need to do better, including me. If we don't have sleep in check, we're compromising everything. So if you're like, these strategies aren't working or they're not having a big effect. One more time. Just in case. Okay. Nothing compromises cognition, accelerates aging and disease, and is the greatest superpower we all have access to than sleep. At this current season of my life, like most of my life, I've been quite resistive to sleep deprivation. If you are not that type of person, given your biological makeup, this is your greatest superpower. This also is one of the easiest things that can have a very meaningful impact if it's not done right. Long story short is don't be dehydrated, okay? These are going to be simple tactics that have meaningful results for you, your clients, your people. Okay, so we need to remember thirst does not keep up with hydration status. It's always a lagging measure, always, because the thirst mechanism takes time. Knowing that, after not drinking for 8, 9, 10 hours in bed, we need to hydrate accordingly. Even mild dehydration can impact cognitive function, arousal, focus, and memory. Here's a study. Degraded mood increased perception of task difficulty, lower concentration, and headache symptoms resulted from 1.36% dehydration in females relative to their body weight. That could be 1 to 2-ish kilos. Things felt harder. Now, I know some of you didn't drink 750 to 1,000 mils before watching this. This is harder for you right now to engage with. You're like, is it over yet? I hope some guys aren't feeling that, but like, part of you may. And there's something you can do about it. So, this is from Paul Chek, one of the godfathers of holistic health. 0.003 times body weight equals liters per day to drink. For me, that's about 3.8 liters. Drink 500 to 1,000 ml within 30 minutes of waking. Of course, the higher body mass you have, the more liquid you will need. I would put, what I haven't put here is I would put half a teaspoon of a Celtic sea salt, maybe some lemon or lime if you want some acidity, if you're going to eat soon. Some potassium. You could use coconut water as well. And from the habitual perspective, always have it within arm's reach. If the habit that you want is difficult to get, it will not get done consistently. There is Himalayan is from like the Indian mountains. I think it's Indian mountains. Anybody can correct me if I'm wrong. Celtic sea salt, I believe, is more from creeks and riverbeds. The source of them is different, and the mineral quality is different. Yeah, it's by kilograms. Try. What's better? I generally find recently Celtic to be better, or I'm forgetting the brand. I'll link the brands that Redmond's. I remember it. Redmond's sea salt is my favorite brand. And I always salt my water when I train or have a high sweat activity. Sodium is very important for every single action potential, which is a energy chemical reaction that happens to create movement and stimulate brain function. Every single thing we do requires sodium to influx and potassium to outflux, like sodium in, potassium out. Very important. Thank you, Kiara. Appreciate it. Neurotransmitters of focus. There are 3 neurotransmitters that are vital to this. Some of you are more genetically prone to having them than others. There's things that we can do to increase them due to certain nutrients I'll give you. One is acetylcholine. This is partly made up and synthesized from choline. What is the highest choline foods? Eggs, liver, and salmon. If you do not have sufficient choline levels, then your ability to make acetylcholine, which regulates your nervous system, helps make hydrochloric acid, which will help your gut as well digest food. So if you're having trouble digesting meats and proteins and general digestion problems, you're having enough choline. Most people don't. So we'll look at acetylcholine because it's also really important for driving focus, attention, and arousal. Like for the last 2.5 hours, my state has felt the same. Interesting. I'm also presenting, drives energy, but also can take energy. But I'm fine. Oh, you can be too. So practically, this can be 4 whole eggs per week plus 200 grams of chicken liver plus 150 to 200 grams of salmon per day if you want to use all 3. If you don't like those other things, find a way to consume them. But if not, 3 to 4 eggs per day will get you to your 400 milligrams of choline recommended daily intake to make acetylcholine. The next neurotransmitter in this arrow of focus is adrenaline. Cold exposure, exercise, caffeine, they all acutely increase adrenaline. However, nutritionally, its cofactor is tyrosine. It's an amino acid found in meat, like red meat, organ meats. That then makes L-DOPA, which then makes dopamine, which is important for motivation, which then makes adrenaline. But you need tyrosine, enough of it, to help with that. If some of you saw my podcast, our podcast with Lucas from Ogogenic Health, we talked about this as a mandatory supplement, particularly for people who want to drive greater motivation and are in a caloric surplus. Vitamin C is also important in adrenaline, but this is more like a side, not as important, but something to be aware of. The last one is dopamine. I think this is important to mention. A lot of you look at David Goggins. A lot of us look at David Goggins and think he's a Superman, superhuman. But I hope he's gotten across the point that he is just a mere man. And he used to be a shell of himself, right? He built himself this way. And if you listen carefully enough, you'll see that David Goggins has rewired his pain, pleasure, reward system. Sigmund Freud said that humans only take action to avoid pain or seek pleasure. If we believe this theory, then all we have to do is rewire our association with pain and pleasure. Many of you train and exercise, and you love it. You've associated pleasure with a seemingly painful experience that many people dread. How is that so? Because you've rewired your associations. Many of you have belief systems around working all day and have associated pain with that. I'm trying to come in here and say, all you need to do is rewire your association. And how could you make this a pleasurable activity? Well, first, is it something you want to do? And then you can keep going. But this is a hack for life. As a result of it, Goggins and people like him experience a lot of dopamine as a result of doing things that are very painful. So if you struggle to focus for long periods of time, we would look at the dopaminergic system, adrenaline, acetylcholine, and look to modulate it through better nutrition and rewiring pain, pleasure, reward system. God, just think about it. It's not willpower. It's not discipline. It's identity. It's who these people are. It's who they've decided to be. And it's their association with pain and pleasure. They get pleasure from something painful. Why can't you do the same? You can. Same thing here. We will go over. I'm about to give away a treadmill. You might want to stay. Yes, buddy. Dopamine. B vitamins, B6, B12, very important, particularly for the ladies in here for menstrual health, B6. Here's a nice fancy diagram on other nutritional cofactors that are important if you're struggling with motivation, if you're struggling with drive, right? And obviously, well, you'd want to hopefully get a coach and someone to do your blood work and nutritional analysis, like me or Ben Cant or some or people in here. Because then we can look at things like zinc, which is really important that we didn't mention, magnesium. But here you can screenshot, take a look, rewatch. If you're thinking, why can't I, what's wrong? It's like, I just can't get going. No matter what I try, you try all of this stuff and none of it's working, I would definitely look here. One of my favorites, omega-3 fatty acids. Who doesn't love like fish? Okay. If we're not doing it, we need to supplement with it because you're not going to get it anywhere else. It is essential. Oh, and little baby Everton, she needs enough omega-3s for brain development. Very important for IQ, cognition, psychophysiological development is very important. Made up of, because the brain is made up mostly of fat cells. A large portion of this is made up of DHA. And if we don't have enough of it, we will compromise our ability to function and focus. 5 to 10% of your brain's weight is made up of omega-3s. Probably pretty important. Here's a diagram. 1 ounce is 30 grams. One ideally at least a gram per day, but I push for at least 2.5 to 3 grams of DHA EPA. I go on optimal. Okay, I'll give that a second. Very important. If you're omega, you can do a red cell index omega-3 test. You can go to omegaquant.com, omegaquant, and you can get your red blood cell index tested. This will measure the amount of omega-3s in your red blood cells. Optimal, you want at least above 8%. If it is below 8%, more fish, fatty fish, and or more supplementation. Very important. Also very important for modulating inflammation. Skin issues, gut issues, brain issues, aging issues. Oh, it's pretty cool. It improves your ability to make acetylcholine because it helps the enzymes that help catalyze acetylcholine. It improves something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor that also has effects for aging and improving cognition. There was a study done, 3.3 grams a day for 1 year, improved verbal fluency, language, memory, visual motor coordination. So if you're not having fatty fish and you're not supplementing with a good quality omega-3, which I will show you, then life is just harder. Another study, it slowed memory loss in people with Alzheimer's. I know none of you have Alzheimer's, but most of us here, or many of us here, will eventually get it. Family members as well. Many of you don't know, most omega-3s are trash. They're rancid, they're oxidized, getting off the shelf. You guys are trying, but you just don't know which ones are good quality and have gone through rigorous quality testing. This link, I'll put in the chat if you want it now, but I'll also send you later. Third-party lab testing for supplements that you can put through and assess. They've already done the testing, and they tell you what's good quality. However, my favorite brand, and I don't like publicizing brands, but I'll tell you guys, highest quality brands in Australia. Oh, I didn't put it in. I have to tell you, Bioceuticals. Bioceuticals, ultra clean, 85. Highest dose omega-3, best quality omega-3, very low oxidation rate. What you're getting is what you're paying for. Be skeptical of cheap supplements that are off the counter. It's like, oh, this Nature's Way is $40 cheaper. Nature's Way ain't going to move your needle of your omega-3 status and actually improve what it's supposed to improve. It's a fat-soluble vitamin. You need to be more careful about buying fat-soluble vitamins because they're more susceptible to oxidation and just going off. So omega-3s. Creatine. Is there anybody not on creatine right now? It will help dictate how long I spend on this. That's okay, about 7 people. How creatine helps cognition. Some of you may not know. It crosses the blood-brain barrier. It exerts neuroprotective properties. And there have been many studies, but some are mixed towards cognition, brain development, cognitive performance, diseases. This was interesting. Young adults, just like you guys, supplemented with 8 grams of creatine per day for 5 days, noticed a reduction in mental fatigue when asked to continually complete a unique serial calculation compared to subjects who took placebo. So, creatine, 5 grams a day. What brand? The ones you get from like bulk nutrients that are from China are often lower quality and can have different type of particulates in it that can be problematic, potentially. There is a German brand that is very high quality that is escaping me that I will try and remember and I'll share with you later. Another example, another test. Okay, creatine improves cognitive function. 5 grams minimum per day, or watch our podcast with Lucas and try creatine. It's a different creatine supplement that is supposedly dramatically going to help cognition. Can you ever get enough through diet? Not to the extent that supplementation will provide. The creatine within food pales in comparison to a 5 gram dosage, for example. Another study. Caffeine. Now, my life, I don't drink caffeine. Some of you do. It's fine. It's great. Very effective. And the way it works, it blocks adenosine, which contributes to feeling sleepy, which also how it impacts your sleep quality later at night. So I'm a proponent of it if you don't get downside effects from it. Upregulates adrenaline. Remember, that's one of our neurotransmitters for focus. Increases dopamine, another one. And here is a dosage. We see 40 milligrams to 300 milligrams improves cognition. 3 milligrams per kilogram. The safe dose is all the way up to 8 milligrams per kilogram for athletic performance. But cognition is going to be about 3. If it doesn't impact your sleep, it can be a great tool in the push phases of your life. Like Mac, okay, push phase now, you might want to use it before midday. Actually finishing off now. Nearly did this on time. Has anybody used or heard of Bacopa Monnieri or Brahmi? Used it? Okay. Love to hear what happened, what you guys thought.
It's really good. I like it. It's a nootropic and it just helps with focus, memory, mental clarity. You can take it as a tablet, or I got it in a liquid form in like a tincture, herbal tincture. And I really like it because I'm prone to forgetting everything.
Really?
But I really loved it.
Okay. Interesting. Well, one reason it could be working is it because it's enhancing this action of acetylcholine, which we know is important for memory and cognition. It's used for thousands of years. And it also protects against a buildup of inflammatory proteins called beta amyloid plaques. Very important for Alzheimer's and disease. 300 milligrams per day, but you won't probably begin to notice the benefits until 5, 6, 7 weeks. Chloe, do you remember how long it took you?
A while.
Yeah.
to be fair, I always tell my clients that for a good 2 months, I was like, I don't think this is working.
Yeah.
And then it hit in, yeah.
Oh, oh yeah, you guys raise your hands. So be patient. Study. 437 subjects showed improved cognition. Actually, they could react faster. Like reaction time was improved. Great. More time saved. More life. So, whew. I'm glad I added a half an hour. Mindset, habits, time, light, sound, air, environment, eye gaze, nutrition. I would love to hear, we can't go through everyone because there's a few people. I'd love to hear if you guys just unmute yourself, biggest takeaway or any questions, thoughts, feedback, stories you want to share. I'll open it up. I'll be quiet.
I have a question.
Yes.
What are some strategies or like mindset shifts you put in place to be able to actually stick to taking all the supplements and doing all the things? Like, I feel like I'm really consistent for like a month or something, if that, and then I forget the why, and then I don't know, or I'm tired. I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered. I'd rather just get some sleep than go and take all this shit, and then I don't know, just kind of drops off.
Before I say something, I wonder if Kiara, do you have anything around that? Because I know you've had your experience with that. Is there anything you want to share there or no?
The only thing I would say is that really thinking about how I felt when I wasn't taking the supplements is usually enough for me.
Yeah.
Because like it can be pretty extreme. If I fall off track, I just came off a bout of falling off track. I've just got back on track and I'm like, I'm not forgetting how I felt like before.
But Marion, you may not have that.
No.
It's not that?
I don't. I think in the past I have, but now it's more so I feel good, but I want to reach optimal health, you know? Okay. So, yeah.
Do you believe taking these supplements on a consistent basis is going to help you reach optimal?
Yeah.
I don't know. Really?
Well, I think I believe that if I do it long enough consistently, then it will. But I've never really done it long enough to maybe get the evidence. So maybe I don't believe it, or I've never allowed it to let me believe.
So no wonder it's not happening on a consistent basis. When that habit stops, when that habit is falls off, why is it? Is it forgetfulness? Is it I just don't care about this? What is it?
Oh, sometimes it'll be I forget and then I'm already in bed and then I weigh up the pros and cons of me unwinding again, getting up, like turning my light on and like doing it all. And I'm like, actually, I just value my sleep more because I'm like, I think that that'll be better. But then, you know, once you fall off one night, then it's like, oh, you know, did it last night. Oh, it's not a big deal. I'll catch up. And then it just, I don't know.
I have two things. A principle called Never Miss Twice by James Clear. Okay, if you adopt a principle, like one day, all right, you missed. If you adopt the principle of never missing twice, then it can give you a commitment to come back. But how do we make it easier for you? Like anybody else can put suggestions in. What's the easiest way, time, day, location, for you to take your supplements to make it impossible to miss? Like if you just had a gun to your head, like I have to do this, like what's the easiest way to get them in?
I've got something I've started doing recently that's made it a lot easier to like just get everything in. I saw in the chat someone said get a pill divider. Definitely that helps. So you can just have like any pills you take just for each day, and then you can just pop it open straight into your hand. And then I also wash down the pills with my like powder or liquid supplements. So like NAC creatine just in a shaker, and I wash it down that way. So it's just really, really quick in the morning. And like, yeah, it doesn't taste very good, but still like it's just quick and then it's over with.
Yeah,
It helps
thank
to
you.
have that done like the night before, or you could even get like a week pill divider and do it that way. So it's just
Yeah, thanks. Yeah,
Mary,
I hate the taste of them as well. Sorry.
I was just going to say, on a Sunday, I grab all of the bottles down, put it in my weekly divider, and then that goes on my work desk on a Monday. Doesn't leave it for the whole week. So throughout the day, I'll just like pick at them, and then you don't have to hold the bottles at all throughout the week. But the taste we can't do much about.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
What else, guys? Steve?
I'm trying to think of how to word it. You've given us like these principles for how to be more conducive for deep work. What are some considerations you'd have if you're in, say, a shared office with your partner or with a roommate?
If that's the constraint, I would position yourself with your back to them. Try and not have visual disturbances. Then headphones, ideally noise cancelling, because noise will distract you. Try and make them invisible and position the desk so it's harder to reach. So it's harder for them to affect you.
Yep, we'll try that. Thanks.
I'm open to anybody else jumping in.
Are you worried about the environmental, like the light and all the other stuff as well, and the influence of that on their experience at work? Is that a concern?
Not particularly. It's more so, I think what Alex is talking about is the actual visual distraction. Like the lighting would be pretty good. We haven't actually moved in yet, but we're just planning the office at the moment. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Sorry. Hello. What else?
Are you doing questions, Al, or
Yeah, Q&A and feedback and biggest takeaways.
I'll give a take. I know this sounds like a first world problem, but my wife and I are designing our house that we're building, and the builders said something the other day, like, "Oh, do you want to get smart lighting?" I was like, "Who the fuck would need smart lighting? Like, what a fucking stupid thing!" But you've actually completely persuaded me. I'm gonna get smart lighting throughout the whole house and run it white during the day and set it up so it can turn warm, because it actually does do that. You can preset it to the delay. If you turn the light on at 7 p.m., it's going to be warm. If you turn it on at 5 a.m., it's going to be white.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just the dumbest fucking idea and an absolute first world problem, but I'm completely convinced now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would put thousands of dollars into it if some of you, if money was not a limitation. Especially at night, make everything red. It's going to help your children sleep as well, because children are very sensitive to blue light. So if you're having trouble with them falling asleep, experiment for 1 week with no blue light, everything's red in the 1 to 2 hours before they sleep, and just get back to me and just let me know.
I got a takeaway. Divergent thinking. I'm just going to book out some time and just sit in my beautiful backyard and with a pen and paper. I just get distracted. I feel like I get distracted so easily. And I'm a bit of like a all in or nothing type of guy. And just recently I've made the decision to get off all social media after today, deleting Instagram, deleting Facebook. I'm going to do another 3-month stint. And I feel like this will help me a lot, but maybe for those who do get distracted, what are some methods? Because sitting outside for 45 minutes with a pen and paper and just trying to think. It's quite difficult. I'm envisioning.
Would you be going with an objective, Mac?
Pardon?
Would you be going into it with an objective, like actually trying to solve a certain problem for your business or something like that, or would it just be see what lands?
I think right now it's see what lands, because I feel like just initial thoughts, I don't really have this this thing that I need to solve right away. I have a lot of, talking about fires before, I have a lot of fires that I feel like would like come up in my mind first if I'm sitting outside. But I think to create like bigger goals and bigger objectives and have and write them 3 questions down, like we mentioned before, I think that would serve me a lot better. I might try that.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I found it works when I have an objective to try and problem solve, and I want to get to a couple of layers of understanding, rather than just going in wondering what. Like, I'm not going into it thinking I want to fill my paper up with words. I'm going in with I want to solve a problem. How might I go about that?
Okay, great.
Reduce the expectation. Just when you have the expectation, it creates a pressure and friction. Allow it. Don't force it. Just be. Imagine if you could just be. Just be. Jack, did you have something you wanted to say? I think you raised it.
Yeah, so I wanted to quickly ask on so when you said like you were scheduling deep work, shallow work, and all in those little blocks there, one thought did come to my mind where I think I wasn't doing it that way, but I did try to do that maybe last year, where I was like blocking a lot of things out for certain things, whatever it may be. Did you feel like at any point you felt you got pretty robotic? Like you feel like it was just a lot of like just tasks to do or whatever. But I guess that would have been solved through like scheduling shallow work, deep work in that aspect, I guess, from that point of view.
Is feeling.
When I say robotic, it's like that's actually probably a good question.
Because you're not living like that. It's a temporary state.
Yeah.
A robot is highly efficient. A machine is highly efficient generally. It's not like you're not human. But you're switching on a mode in your body and mind to be highly productive. If that helps you, I would lean into that. Like, I wouldn't stay like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Jack, I feel like I can really resonate with what you're saying, because to be honest, when I first saw the advertising for this Zoom call, I was like, oh my God, this seems so like like very masculine energy. And like, I feel like I really try to have a balance of both, like, the discipline, but also allowing time for creativity. And there was a part of me that was like, is this sustainable? I'm actually really curious to see like what, Alex actually thinks about this. But the way that we've kind of talked about it, it's not really like that. But yeah, it can get a bit like overwhelming. It's like, oh my God, what happens if I like break out of this? But I think that it's just a tool to help you to you could block out like 3 hours of do nothing,
That's
like
exactly what you would do.
So yeah. And then maybe a time where you don't need to do it so much, because maybe it just feels like more of a flow. But maybe to find that flow first, you need to make it a little bit more structured before it becomes like second nature, I guess.
I love this question. Marion, remember, all of you are in control. You do not have to operate to the level of me or someone else. You are in control. You design the schedule that works for you, and honor and listen and be aware of what season of life you are in. What season of life you're in. Mac is entering a push phase. Kiara too. Carl just launched a new media company. Is it the season? Is it winter to consolidate? Is it summer and spring to plant and build? And that will give you confidence and security in whether you need to honor more femininity or masculinity from an energy perspective. I know Mary could probably speak to this. She was very in her masculine, if you don't mind me saying, Mary, building. And then she just stopped. We just stopped everything. She went inward. Winter comes back out. She's anew, and she's able to reconcile and manage that masculine, busy building energy with better intuitiveness, intelligence, and awareness. But it's not even just a season like a season in your month or your year. You can build that into a day. The first half of the day could be this more masculine grow, and the other half of the day could be this other balance of femininity to release and sit back and be taken care of and just unwind. What if you had the flow within a day or a week and it just was like a wave, a tide coming in and out?
Yeah, nah, it's honestly all those. Nah, they're actually really good discussion points, and yeah, I thank you, Marion, for saying that, because yeah, like I was even thinking it just then. Like, I think it was maybe an hour ago. I was like, okay, my brain was telling me we got to put everything into this motion, like all this in, straight away. But then, that's what your brain tells you. But then you start to realize, like, no, with myself, like, I know I would need a little bit of time just to process things, process what we learned and everything that goes with it. And then, and then slowly implement those things, because that's how I am as well. So, yeah.
You know what's best for you.
Yeah.
Like, we need this guidance and education, but then at the end of the day, we really know what we need. But
There's an intuitive application. Like, there's an intuitive, like, oh, I don't have to do everything. I can just pick and choose my flavors.
Yeah, 100%.
Ape, you've been patiently waiting, my G. You just got to unmute yourself, Ape.
Hey, thank you first for running this masterclass.
You're welcome.
I came a bit late, so I missed the first 10 minutes. I don't know if you touched on this. Because I come late, I wanted to also ask, like, will you be providing the PowerPoint slides to us?
Not the slides, but the video, so you can watch back and take notes, and resources of all the links.
Okay, cool. I was going to ask if you touched on this or if you didn't. And because this guy before was mentioning about focus, meditation, I've started trying to meditate, and I know that it takes time to master meditation and to like focus and affirmations. And like, how powerful can it be on finding your focus, on delegating your thoughts, and also on how to level up in meditation, how to become better at meditating so you can better control your mind and your focus?
That's a great question. If you're not meditating, I begin doing it immediately to improve your focus and emotional control and regulation. The format of which you do it, I would release any expectation for having to do it on an app or any format that you think is best. Try them all. Try whatever. A lot of people fall short with meditation and feel like a failure. You're welcome back. Is because they have this expectation that it has to be thoughtless. It have to be without thought. Damn it, a new thought came in. Shit. And then you almost feel bad about it. If you want to be better at meditating, controlling emotion and focus, you have to progressively overload and sit through the discomfort and remove and release any expectation for meditation to be something other than what it is simply observing your thoughts like clouds in the sky. So when you're sitting in that meditation, all of you, I would just be observant. Be the curious observer of your thoughts instead of the controller of them.
Like kind of like they're just cars going past.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Guys, before we get up out of here and everybody leaves as they have to go, we're going to do it like this. I'm going to think of a number between 1 and 100. 1 and 100. You're going to put it in the chat. I haven't picked the number yet. The first person to pick the number is going to win the $600 foldable treadmill. If you live outside of Victoria, I hope you don't. So I'm going to have to figure something out. Okay. I'm going to pick a number between 1 and 100. I'm feeling, all right. I got the number. Begin putting in the chat. First person to get it will get it. Oh, Jesus. We're close. Nope. Close. Ooh. So fast. Sheesh. Nope. Ooh. We're getting there. Yo, Anthony, don't come up yet. All right. Oh, guys. I might have to give you some hints here. No. It's above 50. Wait. God, this coming in so fast. Fuck up the chat like that. Jesus. Killing me. Slow it down, guys. Oh my God. Wait. I'm gonna have to scroll through this chat. Wait. We got it. Okay. Let's see. I just want to see if no one got it first. Someone's got it. Okay. The number was 57. Who was the first person to say 57? Control F. Jai? Was it you? 11:57.
That wasn't me.
It looks like it might be, son. Unless someone got 57 before that, and I missed it.
I'll claim it.
It was Jai. I just checked.
Is what?
It is Jai.
It is Jai.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Jai.
I checked as well. Congratulations, Jai. Woo!
I actually wanted it as well. That works out.
I'm glad, man. Hey.
My wife is so mad at you, man.
It was coming in so fast, I was afraid I was gonna miss it. Matt leaves immediately. Damn.
Fair play.
Guys, if you have any last thoughts, feedback, takeaways, questions, quickly put them through. Otherwise, if anything comes up, message me, email me later. Yeah, man. Love you all. It's very humbling to have, I don't know how many, 30, 40 people are in here live today. I hope I over-delivered completely for you guys, and this was really impactful and serves you throughout the rest of your career and life. I'd love if you guys could share with me, like, just shoot me a message later when you sit with it and do your divergent thinking, or a video or social media story about what you thought of it. Maybe I'll give something else away if it's particularly awesome. But thank you guys. Any last thoughts or questions? I'll be here, but I love you all.
Thank you. Love you.
Love.
Thanks, bro.
You're welcome.
Legend.
See you guys.
Thank you.
See you later.
Slay.
Thank you.